Hello, everyone. Welcome to the Packer Universe podcast. We're a Green Bay Packers fan podcast bringing you topical and relevant Packers news, along with their most humble, subjective opinions. We are recording this on a Wednesday. This is September 4th, 2024. This is episode 285. I'm your host, Tay, and joining me on video tonight is our one and only
How
Ren.
about that, Tay? 1 for 1.
Nice
First time
point.
only on the point. You actually have to point towards the wall when you're on the other side, which is always interesting. But what up, Tay? How we doing? We are less than 48 hours away. We're less than 24 hours away from the kickoff of the 2024 NFL season. Chiefs, Ravens, and then less than 48 hours away from the kickoff in Sao Paulo against the Packers and the Eagles. So, dude, I'm feeling pretty nervous, pretty great. How are you feeling today?
Wow, those are two kind of opposite emotions. I guess you can lump them in as being good together. But yeah, I also feel a little nervous about the game, but at the same time, I'm excited that football's starting. It's obviously crept up really, really fast. Last night, you and I were involved in a friends league fantasy football draft, so that came up really quickly. We did that. But now that that's over, it's like, okay, now we can get into some football here. We got the opening game tomorrow night, and then in 2 days we have our game, the Green Bay Packers. I'm excited. I'm glad to have the showcase Friday night game. I think it's really cool. I hope that it kind of goes over well. I know that's kind of like mixed because it's being debuted, I guess, during high school football still. Like, so there's a little bit of like, should they have done this on a Friday, or is the NFL kind of overstepping their bounds a little bit by going, no, we're doing this. This is a international game. We're just kind of doing whatever we want. I didn't think they were kind of like allowed to have Friday night football games, but they're doing it. So I don't know if that takes away from some of that local, high school action that I think a lot of people do enjoy, have their kids involved with. And now, did they have to make a decision whether they're going to tape the game, have their phones out during the game? So that's kind of the only part that just kind of I realized lately that I was about to enjoy this Friday game wholly, but then maybe there are people out there that are kind of like, oh, why are they doing this? But I like having the game all to or the night all to ourselves, one-off game. So I'm super pumped. It's a Friday night, Ren. I think I might be in love with that idea at the end of the weekend. Just like your team's done, the game's finished. You can just ride the weekend all the way through. No pressure. There's no like waiting for Sunday. I don't know. I might love it. How about you?
Oh, over the moon about it, Tay. I know that there's going to be some salty emotions. Like the kids should be the kids foremost, out in front, not the NFL. This is the first Friday night game in the NFL, and I believe about 50 plus some years, based on scheduling. Now it's scheduled based on, the NFL. They care, but they don't care. Tay. Let's be honest.
Yeah.
They do and they don't. They want to get their stuff everywhere, anywhere, get their week kicked off the right way with two amazing matchups on Thursday and Friday. Certainly, if I had, my son some years ago playing high school football, I would have been there on Friday night and take the game in when I can. And it is what it is. But I understand why people feel salty about it. You want to give the kids their due. But as far as NFL fans go, it couldn't be any better, Tay, kicking off our season, with an international game, first time in South America, for any NFL team. And then, hey, yeah, the Packers get the wheels back up Saturday. They get back home Sunday, Saturday night. And yeah, listen, we've got all of Sunday to watch football. The game will be over. Enjoy our weekend. And Monday Night Football as well with Aaron Rodgers and the 49ers. So we just get to take this whole thing in. As NFL fans and as Packer fans, I think it's fantastic. Again, we can bring up the little bit of glaze over this with Friday Night Lights for the high school kids, but no, it's fantastic. I'm looking forward to it. And those have gripes, they can have their gripes, but you know what? a lot of gripes in the world to be had. It's called the human element, and it is what it is, and we move on.
There's a day off in there. You get Saturday off. You have Thursday, Friday, Sunday, and Monday this week, debut week for the NFL. Um, I love it. I love it. Like you said, wheels up to Brazil. Ren, I have to mention our last episode. We had a guest on. He's a Brazilian journalist that covers the Packers. His name is Wendell Ferreira, and we had him on last episode. It was a video episode, so go check that out if you haven't. You still got time. You have like a couple
Yep.
days. So after watching this one, go plug that one in. But he was a delight to have on. Had some great insight about not only just the Packers, which he's really good at, but he also has kind of like shed some light on what it's like down in Brazil and the culture around American football and kind of what to expect. We kind of asked him like, what does he expect to have, what experience he'll have there at the game, and like what's leading up to that and all that stuff. So go check that out. It was a really cool episode. But yeah, like you said, they're probably wheels down, right,
Wheels
boys?
down. It's out. I tweeted out them coming through the airport with, Brazilian fans greeting them right at the gate, say, you know, chirping at Jordan and Jair and Matt LaFleur as they walk through with Mark the Meddler right behind them. Yeah, they're wheels down. They made it. They're there. Probably at this point getting to the hotel already there and getting tucked in.
Yeah, it was like an American Airlines jumbo jet or whatever. It's a 777. I think you mentioned it in the last episode. They found a big enough plane that could take off from Austin Straubel Airport in Green Bay to make a direct
Correct.
flight. So that's awesome that they were able to do that. I don't know. I mean, what do you think is happening on that 10-hour flight? You think Matt's handing out sheets of like playbooks and like, here's the first 15. You better memorize this. There'll be a quiz at hour 8. Like, what do you think is happening in that fuselage?
If you send out anything, I hope it's a little melatonin. Like let's just get some shut eye. Let's relax. I know some of those guys are not fans of the long flight. I know Marshawn Lloyd being one of those guys doesn't like long flights. I'm sure there's probably a lot of the other ones that have a little flight trepidation.
Sure.
It's not like you're flying to Detroit or Chicago and it's like up and down in 45 minutes. This is a big deal. It's a big deal for the NFL in a new market. So hopefully, yeah, guys are just able to relax again, get some shut eye, and just get to Brazil and focus on the game. That's been the big topic all week. This is, Matt is preparing them. This is, hey, let's not worry about all these incidentals. More stuff coming up about Brazil this week, which a lot of just kind of negative vibes around that. Which there's not a lot of real common sense that goes into that. The team's going to be well taken care of. There's really nothing to worry about these guys.
No
If you think
security
about the
threats.
right, if you think about the time they're there, Tay, right now, obviously 2 hours later in Brazil as we talk. So you're talking it's already 10 p.m. at night in Sao Paulo, and they got tomorrow, they got practices, and then they got the game on Friday. This is business. This is a business trip. These guys are not going to be out in the city. There's nothing to worry about our football team. Even the fans down there, I think they're going to have a great time. Be in the right places. Sure, there might be the couple off incidents as people put themselves in positions maybe that aren't great in the fourth largest city in the world. We know fellow Packer fans and Wisconsinites like to imbibe, and sometimes that can put yourself in a bad position nonetheless when your faculties are down and you're just not paying attention, or maybe you're doing or saying the wrong thing in a new country. But outside of that, I don't have any concern for the football team. It is a business trip, and they're ready to get down to business, going to and from the hotel, and then to and from the playing field at Corinthians Stadium come a little less than 48 hours from now.
Well, ramping up to this, I mean, it seems like it's been forever that this game has been ramped up, with and for. Uh, but it, I guess outside of that, I mean, like that's kind of like feel like that's kind of what it's been. It's been, the Packers are going to Brazil to play the Eagles, and this huge, milestone. And eh, I almost kind of forget sometimes that to play a game on Friday night. So they're playing the Philadelphia Eagles. This is a regular season game, the first one, but they're playing actual football against another NFL team. They're not just going on there
Yeah.
for a practice. So
Two of the NFC's best, eh?
yeah, yeah. So tell me a little bit about the Eagles. What can Packer Universe prepare for? I mean, this is an off season that maybe Packer fans aren't paying attention to other teams, and so you have now the Philadelphia Eagles, who have been good the last couple years. We're taking them on, and you have Jalen Hurts, who might be less than he has been in the last couple of years. Like that's been sort of like the trend. So there's question marks around him. They got Saquon Barkley from the Giants in this offseason. Their run game has always been a committee, so to speak. And now they have a premier back. Like, how do they use him? They have some, I guess, stars at receiver. So we all kind of know that, but I guess highlight some of the things that we should be watching for or looking out, for where are some problem areas that you've identified.
The Eagles, obviously, Tay, they had a really fast start to the 2023 season. You're talking a team that started 9-1 or 10-1, and this whole thing kind of fell apart through the last, third of the season for the Philadelphia Eagles, to the point where they have a brand new offensive coordinator in Kellen Moore, a brand new defensive coordinator in Vic Fangio. Everybody knows the name well. Been around the league quite a long time. His defenses have been mimicked and copied in a lot of cities across the NFL. At one point, you heard whispers that Nick Sirianni and Jalen Hurts couldn't even be in the same room together, as this thing kind of just fell into pieces. So it's really kind of a wonder where this Eagles team will kind of jump out, right? They were such a prolific offense 2 years ago, where you're talking about AJ Brown and Devonta Smith being some of the best catchers, of the football, and then the yards after the catch 2 years ago, and they massively regressed in those stats in 2023 to the point where they were like 30th and 64th in those metrics. And they did add Jahan Dotson in a interdivision trade here just a few weeks ago, kind of failed project out in Washington, adding another young, talented wide receiver to the room. And obviously adding the hometown Philly kid, Saquon Barkley, from the New York Giants in the offseason. Obviously one of the biggest, if not the biggest, free agent running back on the market. In New York, Saquon probably had one of the worst offensive lines, and he now goes to kind of the flip to a much better. Philly has had great offensive lines for years. Over the last few years, some of the best. Obviously, Jason Kelsey retired, no longer there, so you don't have that middle of that line. But you're talking about prolific offense. Another thing on defense is in 2023, you're talking about the 31st ranked secondary in the league. So this team struggled massively, especially down the stretch, protecting the big play pass, and they were just bad. I mean, one and done in the playoffs. This team, you just have to wonder, if they get off to a bad start this year, is Nick Sirianni, one of the first casualties as a head coach in the NFL, and I think he could be. So it's like Bill Belichick watch or somebody else. When you come in and you overhaul the offensive defensive coordinator, it tells you there's a lot of things not going right. Again, we've heard those whispers with Nick and Jalen, but going back to the other part, this is a really talented group. Bringing in Saquon Barkley, bringing in a premium tight end. Little lost for words. The free agent tight end they brought in,
Goddard?
Dallas Goedert, and then you've got AJ Brown. You've got the other wide receiver, the aforementioned. Now in a lost of words, you bring in Jahan Dotson. No,
Devonta Smith.
Devonta Smith. They're super talented, man. You wonder when it gets to this game. My biggest concern and my nervousness, like when I up front, I talk about being excited, being nervous, like they're kind of, two juxtapositions, right? No, it is exciting, but we have this new Jeff Hafley defense, and you just don't know, like, are they going to be playing single high in the wrong moment and receivers get behind, the safeties, last time the Eagles and the Packers played, I think Jalen Hurts had 100 yards rushing in the first quarter. I think they had over 350 yards rushing in the entire game. I mean, those are scary stats. Like, obviously, a very different defense. Joe Barry is no longer on the scene, but we really don't quite know what to expect from our new guy Jeff. And is he going to look man? Is he going to be playing zone against this team at times? He generally teaches football and he adjusts to personnel and the looks on the field pretty well, and he likes to teach that. So for me, the ultimate nervousness is, what does this team hold? They're no longer a secret to the NFL, right? The Packers were that through the first 8-9 weeks of the season, and then they had to rattle off a bunch of wins, and suddenly, hey, they're the youngest team in the NFL, winning, the first 7 seed to win in the NFL playoffs, and it just makes you nervous, man. You're just like, Jordan, are you going to back this up? We're not going to get off the slow start anymore. You got the bag, all these different pieces moving, and we just like to see, the Packers get off to that start they need and deserve, and not start off slow to start the season.
Yeah, I mean, Jalen Hurts is a formidable opponent, a formidable QB. I mean, we historically stink against running quarterbacks, and he is a good one. But maybe as he's getting older, he seems to be passing more. There's in the last 3 years, his pass attempts have gone up, his completions have gone up. Does that is that a trend that kind of is forming him into more of a passer? Not necessarily, but you got to think maybe is that what they want out of him? Less running, less hits, that sort of thing. You always get the tush push, but I think maybe that's where they kind of want to take him as a better passer now than just a scramble runner. And maybe against the Packers, that you can run against us. And that's one of my kind of concerns too, is with this defense now. Yeah, we all understand that it's more of a tack defense. But is that are you going to swing and miss a lot more? If someone's not spying Jalen, what happens when he's running free for 30, 40 yards in huge chunks? I mean, that's going to be a big problem, even if we can, shut down the passing game. So that's still my worry, is that on the defensive side. I don't see a problem getting to the quarterback with the defensive line, and our secondary. I'm quite confident in, but that linebacker position, either you're spying the quarterback or you're not, chasing Jalen to the edge quick enough, and he turns the corner. I think that's maybe where our weaknesses could lie with this defense that we don't really know a whole lot about, and we're going to see it for the first time on Friday night. So I think anybody's guess is could be correct with how this defense will perform, especially against a running quarterback or potentially running quarterback.
Totally true, Tay. And like we were just discussing, I mean, he wrecked the Packers last time. Obviously, Aaron left that game, and we saw the first taste of Jordan Love. That open field pass to Christian Watson is, what it was kind of like watching when you and I sat in charcoal grill and rotisserie years ago when Brett Favre went down in Dallas, and in rolls Aaron Rodgers and almost beats the Cowboys. And it was a similar thing where Jordan just kind of fell into the groove. But going back to that, not digressing there, but yeah, Jalen's dangerous on the ground. This is not the same defense. It's going to be a much more aggressive defense. Are they over aggressive? And I guess that is a concern. Saquon Barkley, a couple years removed from that massive injury, he likes to bounce outside. He's not a between the tackles kind of guy. How do they respond to that? When he's getting to those outsides, how are those linebackers filling in and getting him? How are those safeties coming up? I mean, this is a brand new safety room. We are over the moon about how they remade this thing versus the room of Band-Aids last year. Sure, the Band-Aids were sufficient, but now they've got, an ultimate group of heady talent that needs to go out and prove themselves. Obviously, number one being, Xavier McKinney, who's he's the coach of that defense, in my opinion. He's the guy kind of running that from the back forward, with trying to teach these other guys how to read and react and be in the right position to make this whole thing go. So it's going to be fun, Tay. It's but it's so nerve wracking because we don't have a taste for it. It was vanilla during the preseason. There was nothing we saw. The second preseason game when they got shellacked in Denver, it was just, third stringers against basic blase concepts. And it wasn't much different when they played the Ravens. It was still pretty basic concept. And now we get to it. Now Jeff starts getting out the toolkit. And what does the Jeff Halfley system really look like? And I think it's going to take us some weeks to really get there. And that's
Yeah.
always the thing to be a little bit nervous about is how long does it take your football team, could be ours, could be somebody else's, to get their feet under them during the first quarter of the season, because most of these guys haven't seen a lot of game action. And week 1, week 2, week 3, we say this is kind of the extended preseason, the way that works now in the NFL with a 17-game season.
Yeah, and the first one's a big one in uncharted territory in South America. So spotlight is on us.
Big conference game, man. It's big.
Yeah, yeah,
And what if it comes down to a kick, Tay?
yeah.
You no
Right.
longer have to worry about the guy who missed 10 kicks out of the last 12 games. Could it be a extra point miss? Could it be a field goal miss? How about you give us some of our new guy who doesn't quite think maybe the way the last guy did?
Well, Ren is referring to the guy that we traded for 7th-round pick.
No, we waivers Tay. We didn't trade for him.
Oh yeah,
That'd be
yeah. Sorry.
his counterpart, Malik Willis, we did. But
Malik Willis from the Titans, but we picked Havison. His
Narvison, Tay.
Narvison.
Braden
Narvison.
Narvison.
Braden Narvison. We picked him off waivers, and he kind of just came in. We talked about that last week with Wendell. It's just kind of like the Packers just took their kicker sheet and crumpled it up and threw it out, and then got someone new that is basically the same playing field, same amount of confidence level. I mean, they probably have confidence in this guy, but it's like, let's just start with this. I mean, we're at level 0. Let's just start with level 0 again on a guy that's really cheap and maybe has better upside, because we tried giving Anders Carlson, a lot of opportunity, and even Joseph a lot of opportunity. So we're still at level 0. Let's just wipe it clean and start over. But you're excited because of the clip we're about to show. This is from the Packers.com interview. They had their little video section, and this is from that. This is what has got Ren so pumped up.
You describe this opportunity for you. Set at this locker, what lies ahead for you?
It's a dream. It's a dream. I'm going to take it one day at a time. I'm going to do everything in my power to get 1% better day after day after day. And at the end of the day, I'm going to go out there and try to make kicks, and that's my job. That's what I get paid to do, and so that's what I'm going to do.
Does it come with pressure?
Yeah, everything does. And if somebody tells you they're not nervous, there's no pressure. They're lying to you, or they don't care, in my opinion. I think there's always pressure. Pressure is a privilege, in my opinion. Pressure means that you've done the right things at the right time to show everybody how hard you've worked. That's how I feel about it.
What do you expect the nerves to be like?
Normal. I mean, you're going to have nerves, and just you got to understand that your preparation has taken you to the spot where, the nerves are they're going to happen, and you just have to deal with them and go out there and execute to the best of your ability.
Speaking of nerves, what was like that first practice here?
It was great. It was it was a warm welcome into Lambeau, a nice windy day. But was fortunate enough to go 5 of 5, back to 58 yards, and was put in really, really tough spots that I think are going to really help me this week in Brazil.
What do you mean? What do you mean about tough spots?
A lot of the first kicks that we had were into the wind, 48 into the wind, 56 into the wind. Tough kicks to make that I expect to make fully, but at the same time, coming into a new spot, not getting any really reps with the holder and snapper pre and going into a scrimmage-like setting in Lambeau Field, I think it's just going to prepare me down the line.
What was your first reaction when the Packers kind of made that call and now you're already here?
I was excited, I was smiling like I always do, but I was very grateful, and I'm very blessed to have the people in my life that were able to guide me to where I am now, and I'm going to continue to lean on them from here on out. And at the end of the day, I'm excited. We go to Brazil in 3 days, so it's pretty cool.
There you go, Ren. Pressure is a privilege from your boy Braden. Saying all sorts of good things there, all the right things, but it's all genuine. I believe him. I think he said his significant other is from Wisconsin, so he's kind of like Packer fan adjacent, so he was stoked to get the call and be on the Packers. But the pressure is on a little bit for Braden because he hasn't had a lot of experience with the holder and the Packers team. He's kind of getting thrust into this, and within less than a week or so, or a week, he's flying to a different country, and all the spotlight is on him to make all these kicks. And it sounds like he's got that pressure thing under control, and he uses it to his advantage. So I'm not too worried about him. But what do you think?
I mean, talk about a whirlwind today. I mean, where he was talking about, obviously goes into a situation in Tennessee with Nick Folk, a very entrenched, longtime veteran kicker in the NFL, but a good guy to learn with, and that's why he took that opportunity upon him. And then, speaking of whirlwinds, he's kicking 5 for 5 in a windy day in Lambeau, first time with Orzic, and obviously with our punter, and that's a tough thing to go through, Tay. And he nails them all, and he's not afraid to tell you about it. He's a confident guy, but he likes the pressure, and that's part of the gig, man. And those weren't the kind of vibes you got from Anders Carlson ever as a Packer. You have to love the feelings. This clip has been just kind of bandied about throughout Packer Twitterverse, throughout podcasts, and throughout the beat, and it's a great thing. You don't hear it often where you're like, you want to, run through the wall for that kicker, like other people have said. Like, that guy gets you pumped. You hear that and you're like, I'm team Braden, right? That makes you excited. It's a breath of fresh air. Goes back to last week talking about drafting anybody on special teams with Wendell. You just don't do it. Why? I mean, why, when there are good guys like a Braden Arvison available, as undrafted free agents, bring one in, be it we obviously had an undrafted free agent long snapper, Peter Bowden, out of Wisconsin, that didn't work out this year. But certainly, other guys like our picker, like our punter, Danny Whelan, was also not a drafted guy. You can find some gems out there, and Danny has turned into, what could be, an NFL punter for 10 to 20 years. So stop using draft capital on special teams guys. Figure it out with UDFAs that you point to, that you really like, and work it out. And they just, unfortunately went that Rich Bisaccia route with a guy they thought they could bring along who was not that accurate in college either, where, Braden never missed an extra point in college. That's a huge thing to you want to get those gimmies. You got to hit that 40-yard stuffing in, but you don't have to worry about it. You don't have to put Matt LaFleur like on his edge last year saying, I'm holding my breath, and that wasn't supposed to go out to the press, but he said it with regard to Anders. You need to be able to send a guy out there confidently in those gimme situations that you're not wondering if it's going to be 3. Because again, San Francisco's do happen. I know you weren't happy about it. You called for hey, keep Anders on the roster, get a vet in last postseason. They should have done that. They missed the boat. And as a result, maybe missed the NFC Championship game. So I'm stoked just for a difference after we just struggled through this whole thing, through the end of last year and then through the whole preseason. So love it. Again, Team Braden, Tay.
Yep. Yeah, for now, it's all good. He will wear number 44, which I think is strange, but
also
maybe
love that too, man. Love it.
Yeah, that's the old Davenport number. Not
The dump truck?
Najee, the dump truck.
Yeah, you got it.
So let's move on to something also positive, and it's when the injury report came out.
Excuse me, Tay. That's what?
What?
No.
What? Injury
Positive?
report? Positive.
Oh, no.
It's positive.
Positive. All right.
On our video setup, I don't have at least the capabilities yet to have a soundboard. So
we'll get there.
From now on, we have to rely on Ren for the sound bites. So yes, a positive today is that the Packers basically have everybody practicing. They don't have anybody not playing. They don't have anybody that's out. Obviously, they have the people that went to IR, the PUP list. We're talking about all the 53 people on the roster are able to play, and that I don't know. It seems like that's never happened before, but I'm sure it has, and someone will correct us. But that's great going into your first game of the season. That's amazing, and let's just bring it up here. You probably can't see that. You probably need glasses, Ren, but our audience can see it on their devices. But there's a couple names that kind of crept up that were new. Um, Tucker Kraft, Marshawn Lloyd, Romeo Dobbs, but they're all limited participation. I'm really not concerned about any of this. I think some of this is maybe just like, well, it's a little tick or a ding here, but we'll just keep an eye on it. Especially after tomorrow's practice, we'll know all of this, right? So yeah, I'm not too concerned about that. If you go over to the Eagles side, AJ Brown, he was also a full participant in practice, and those other two guys, Dickerson and Rogers, are probably the same situation as a lot of the Green Bay Packers are now. Devin White, he is not going to play. He's already listed as out. But I don't know. Maybe they do need the linebacker help. Not really sure. But I don't know if Devin would help them out any if he was 100%. But the injury report, Ren, is small, and it is kind of not even a thing this week, and that's amazing. I think that goes to show either we're getting lucky with this preseason and training camp, or our strength and conditioning people are spot on and they're able to bounce players back quicker from anything that's happening, or keep them in condition to not have injuries and stuff during the preseason. So um, this is great. I mean, it's not like you're going into week one without one of your major players or your starting offense, starting defense star. So that's awesome. We can see the Packers now in full effect. This is going to be the 2024 Green Bay Packers. No vanilla defense from the preseason. No vanilla offense. We're going to see it hopefully in action because they need to win this game. You mentioned it was a conference game. They need to win this one. This is important. This isn't one just like a vacation game where it doesn't matter who wins or loses. No, this is big. So I think it's awesome that everybody is healthy, and we're going to see the starting 11 on each side of the ball.
Yep. I mean, they're a little thin at running back, as we know. We'll see if Marshawn Lloyd, he did fly down with the team, if they give him a little spot duty. The whole Tucker Kraft piece is only a concern if somebody, made mention to with a back issue, being on a plane for 12 hours, not necessarily the best situation there. Romeo Dobbs basically has a contusion on his hand. It's not going to keep him out of any game play at all. So generally, these teams are going to list anything they're supposed to. Those are the NFL rules. The Packers are very good at that. No concerns there. It's unfortunate again with the AJ Dillon IR piece that they are pretty thin at the running back position. Going down to Brazil, obviously you're going to see Josh Jacobs spelled with Emmanuel Wilson, and I'd be surprised if we see some Marshawn Lloyd, but could happen. Other than that, I mean, you're talking about a Packers offense today that literally was the hottest offense in the NFL, the youngest offense in the NFL, still the youngest offense in the NFL, youngest team in the NFL again a year later. They can do some big things. You hope there's some big shot plays that, you're talking about some of the best. We were talking about the Eagles a couple of years ago being some of the best run after the catch receivers in the league. Well, that a lot of those actually belong to the Packers now. So they have a lot of ability to do a lot of things if Jordan just gets the ball where it needs to and let those guys cook in the open field. Well, it'll be interesting to watch Josh Jacobs and his first real action as that kind of hammer with the Packers as a true running back, no longer having that dynamic cutback guy like Aaron Jones. Be really great to have both of them. I'd be feeling a lot better about the running game with Josh Jacobs and Aaron Jones. I will say that. One of my things for you, who do you think how do you think this O-line fills out come Friday night? Who do you think you're starting five?
Oh, For the pack, I mean, I think you go. Um, gosh,
Let's go left. Let's go left to right, Tay.
yeah, I think you have Walker, uh, and then you have
Legton.
yeah, he usually plays left, right, and then you have
Yep.
Myers, and then you have is it Junior, or we're gonna get Ryan or Tom on that side.
Well, Tom's going to be your right tackle.
Yeah, and then
Who's your right guard?
I don't know. I think yeah. I think you're gonna see Sean Ryan. That's my guess. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd say Walker, Jenkins, Myers, Ryan, and Tom. Jordan Morgan had some issues down the stretch. I'd be
Yeah.
surprised if he ends up in that starting mix. We'll certainly see. That'd be the one position to watch. Maybe they rotate those guys, but I think it's going to be Sean's at least week 1.
Yeah. And maybe they'll rotate. I don't know. Maybe they give someone a chance. I just hope we don't have any injuries on that offensive line to kind of push the issue. Just try to find out who's going to be those backups and where.
That'll be interesting. Speaking of that, Tay, like, what is that field surface like at Corinthians Stadium? Like that's an interesting part. I thought about that when Wheels went up this morning. Like, how many pairs of cleats, are they bringing with them? Obviously, Red Batty no longer with the team. They got to get a new guy dealing with all that stuff. So you just wonder, like, yeah, what do they bring? Did they bring like 3-4 sets? Are they prepared? Because they don't know what that field surface is like. I don't even know if it's grass. Is it natural?
Well,
Is it a blend? Is it turf? I have no idea. And then how do they adjust that? Because some of these artificial turf pieces, just they're all different in how you get off on them. So, and some of them aren't very great. We've seen in the past some fields melting in Alberta, Canada. No, was it Edmonton? I don't remember, Tay, but weird stuff where now the grass melted in the Hall of Fame game, I think, in Ohio, but then in Alberta they had like seams that were bad, or in Edmonton. Do you remember that? Just weird stuff. Yeah. So that kind of stuff, like, is the weird stuff that kind of crept in my mind, like the field surface and neither of these teams knowing like what to do and how well both are prepared for these kind of small things that can become a big thing come game time.
Yeah, I looked it up, and it does say that it's supposed to be grass, and I would assume it is because they play football there, and they built the stadium to hold the 2014 FIFA Championship or whatever that is. Then there, so I think they have to have grass. But you're talking about the pounding that the center of the field takes with all those cleats in action over the whole game, and does that wear down? I think NFL stadiums and fields are kind of used to that, and they kind of are able to bounce back and address it. But in a soccer field, it's super spread out. There's not as many players in one area driving their cleats in the ground over and over and over again. So that would be my worry too. So I don't know. Yeah, you're right. Who's prepared more? Is the Packers or the Eagles going to be prepared more? Do they bring down a ton of cleats just to figure it out? But yeah, I could see like halfway through the game, like the announcer saying, "Oh, that field's getting torn up there," and you see a lot of divots and pulling grass out of people's helmets, and the Eagles are wearing white, and we are wearing our green home jerseys, so we're going to see long streaks down the Eagles uniforms. I don't know. We'll see, but that's an interesting point, Ren. And hopefully they got that figured out.
Well, at least hopefully they're prepared for those nuances that they have no idea unless they sent a group down there, a couple weeks before to kind of figure it out, which, hey, wouldn't have been a bad idea. So you wonder if they, either team would do such a thing. Apparently the weather is, setting up to be perfect Friday night. It's actually going to be cool in Sao Paulo Friday night. It's going to be in the 60s. So perfect football weather. So it's not going to be overly hot for either of these teams. So that part's nice. I think they said by the end of the weekend it gets back up in the 80s and 90s. So it's working out pretty well for a Friday night game in Sao Paulo as well. Little nuances that these things take on in this brand new spot to have NFL football.
Well, let's get on to predictions, Ren. Like, how do you feel this game will shake out? Um, who's going to win? And is this kind of set the tempo for this Packers team, if it's a win or loss, and how they play?
To answer the second part first, I don't think it'll set the tempo one way or the other. There's a lot of nuance traveling 12 hours, playing essentially a road game, which should be a home game based on the whole stadium of about 50,000 there, which most of which are going to be Packer fans, but they will cheer on offense and defense, as Wendell let us know. Again, I don't think it'll set the season a wrong way if they lose. I think it's tough come the first few weeks of the season to score points. And I think that can be said for both teams, kind of getting your feet back under you. I think the over-under on points scored, Tay, is 48.5. So I see this game. Of course, I'm going Pack. Go Pack, go, Tay. Carry that G, and all that good stuff. But I'm going to say Packers 24, Eagles 18. The Packers win, but it's a tight game. It's back and forth throughout the contest. But the Packers squeak one out and come home feeling pretty good about themselves with a nice, basically 7 days of rest till they have their first home game against the Colts following week. How about you?
Yeah, I'm just trying to, again, when I try to picture a game, how it's going to go, how many touchdowns will they score? Do I think, and what type of touchdowns are those? Are those big plays? Are they long drives that end with a running play? I don't know. I guess I see some explosive plays by the Packers offense. You're saying they score at least 3 touchdowns and a field goal. I don't know. I feel like that's too much. I'm gonna go with 17-13. Packers beat the Eagles. I think it's gonna be a slow start for the offenses. The defenses will kind of be in control of this game. And yeah, and to answer my question too, I don't think this game will set any kind of tempo or vibe for the season. I think this is a one-off thing. But I'm just interested to see how this team comes out of the gate. We think they'll be great on offense, like they were at the end of last year. Defense, we're hoping for a lot better, more exciting defense, maybe more turnovers like we saw in the last preseason game. That would be awesome. And just more, I guess, consistency and energy to drive and tackle and attack. Will we see that? I don't know. I hope we do, because that will be fun. And there are some issue areas, like how is the offensive line going to be in their passing game, in their running game? I'm really curious. If they can run the ball, I think that will do wonders for them in controlling this football game. And so I hope they keep with the running game, even if they struggle a little bit, because I think it'll help balance them out. And then they won't know what's coming, I guess. I'd like to see them try different swing passes. They'll try screens, but the screens have not been working lately. I don't know. Maybe do some different stuff. Get those playmakers in motion and throw the defense off a bit. That's what I'm hoping for. And mistakes, right? Like we always say it every game. If you make mistakes, you might and probably will lose. So the turnover ratio either has to be the same on both ends, or we have to dominate that and I don't know, get the ball. And the defense surprised me during that last preseason game, so I think they're capable of that. And I'm not worried about the defensive line and the backfield. Like I said before, it's that linebacker situation, how they're gonna handle that. And if they can take care of business there in the midfield, I think we'll be really well off. So I am picking the Packers to win. What did I say? 17-13. And yeah, if it's more than that, great. if there's a bunch of scoring fireworks, awesome. That will give the fans there plenty to cheer about. In that last preseason season game, that was 30 plus we put up. So that'd be awesome. If this was a shootout, like into the 30s and 40s for each team, that would make it exciting. But I just don't see that happening for the first game of the year. So
Yeah, I mean, to piggyback off what you said with regard to the turnover piece, I mean, the Packers were, one of the weakest teams with turnovers in the NFL last year.
yeah.
So that's certainly been a piece I know Halfley's been trying to address throughout the offseason. We'll see if they, take that and improve on that greatly throughout the course of the season. So I'd like to see that improve. They got to take the ball away. They got to be more aggressive, but sometimes could that aggressiveness, be to their detriment with some big plays over the top. We'll see if that happens as well. Do you know the line, Tay?
Yeah, I do. I saw it, and it's pretty
Well, you
even. It's
peeked.
pretty
You peeked.
even. Well, when I scroll, man, I scroll. I
Man, so
see
what is the line,
all is
Tay?
revealed. It's Eagles by 2, and I think that's just because they're
2.5.
home game. Two and a half. Oh, I saw 2.
2.5.
I saw 2.
2.5. Well, I mean, depends on where you're looking, but yeah, 2.5. So
that's not even the line, basically.
Yeah, they're not getting the home 3 because it's really not a home game for either team. But it seems like it might be 4 hours. So,
yeah, that. And I don't know. That makes it interesting, I think, if you're betting on the game. But I'm not. I'm not going to bet on this game. That's for sure.
I tell you what, it's like those elimination leagues, Tay, that people get into. Like picking a team week 1, that's a pretty tough go. Like, even if it's the Chiefs playing, let's say the Raiders or the Patriots, it'd still be tough to take them because it's anybody's ball game week 1. Weird stuff happens. People are getting their legs under them. You never know. I wouldn't like to be a serious betting man week 1 in the NFL season.
Nah. We got enough gambling going on with our fantasy football games. I'm sure a lot of people out there listening do the same thing. So I'll focus on all my energy and my betting on my fantasy teams. All right, Ren, you got anything else to say about the Eagles-Packers game coming up in 2 days?
I don't say. I'm just excited for it. I mean, you got to be excited for it. Again, seeing Jordan, continue this forward progression. Is he going to be, the type of guy that just jumps off the charts right away and runs that through the whole course of the season? Was certainly what everybody in Packer universe is looking to see. If he does throughout the course of a 17-game season, certainly you have an MVP candidate on your hands, and you're going to have, a 10+ win team that's going to fight for the division and potentially for the conference. So it's going to be an interesting year. Also seeing what Jeff Halfley's brand of defense brings. We've been waiting for years on years for an aggressive, good Packer defense. It's been way too long. It's exciting, man. We're here, week 1.
Yeah, I can't wait for that too. That's a great point, and everyone should be excited about this Halfley defense. I think we're going to be impressed. Well, that should do it for us on this 285th episode, Ren. Yeah, 285. We'll be back. We're going to do a first takeaway after the game, right?
Yeah, we'd be talking Friday night. I don't know how clear our words will be. Let's put it that way. Today, come late Friday evening.
We'll just have to talk a little slower.
We might be feeling our feels one way or the other come late Friday evening.
Yeah, so look for that. It'll be our first takeaway right after the game. We'll record something, record our reactions, our feels, and see if you agree with that. But yeah, you're here right now. Thanks for watching. Go to our YouTube and subscribe if you haven't. You can subscribe to the podcast wherever you get podcasts. Go to our website, packeruniverse.com. You can send us an email, info@packeruniverse.com, and go follow our socials. I'm trying to get a little better at that, so there'll be more content coming on that. As we go forward. But thanks again for watching. Thanks again for listening, Packer Universe, and go Pack Go.
Go Pack Go, Tay. Until episode 286, Tay, on the pup list.